For years, the Maratha Empire's leader, Chhatrapati Sambhaji Maharaj, was a ghost to his enemies. His cavalry moved like shadows through the rugged Deccan terrain, making him a highly elusive military target. So how does a heavily guarded king, a master of evasion operating inside his own sovereign territory, finally end up in chains? Popular history often suggests the king was caught passively, rusting at the Sardasai Wada in Sangameshwar, when the Mughals simply walked in and took him. But the map of the Sangameshwar area tells a different story. The capture occurred 1.5 kilometers away from that residence, on the banks of the Jaigarh River at a location called Navadi Bandar. That 1.5-kilometer distance redefines the tactical reality of the day. Sambhaji Maharaj was intercepted mid-maneuver, cornered in a violent trap while attempting to reach the water. To understand how that trap was set, we have to look away from the battlefield and examine internal Maratha land policy. This diagram shows the empire's wealth distribution. To centralize power, Shivaji Maharaj halted the flow of hereditary land grants, or vatan, to local elites. This deeply angered powerful relatives, specifically the Shirke family. Over time, this financial grievance turned trusted insiders into Mughal informants. These informants eventually leaked the king's secret, heavily guarded location in Sangameshwar directly to the Mughal commander, Mukarrab Khan. Internal financial disputes ultimately compromised the empire's security network. The snare succeeded because local insiders prioritized their hereditary estates over royal loyalty. You can see the physical constraints of the region in this photograph. The terrain surrounding Sangameshwar consists of winding, perilous paths along the mountain ridges, which made rapid escape for a large entourage nearly impossible. That geography became a deadly liability when Maratha commander Loloji Ghorpade received word that Mukarrab Khan was rapidly approaching with a massive Mughal force. On the tactical map, you can see the crisis unfolding. Mughal forces began sliding into position to cut off all primary land-based exit routes out of Sangameshwar. With the roads closed, the only viable escape vector for Sambhaji Maharaj was the water route via the Jaigarh River. Maratha forces rapidly abandoned the Sardasai Wada and pushed toward the port at Navadi Bandar to secure boats. Local geography, combined with the rapid enemy advance, turned the hidden sanctuary of Sangameshwar into an inescapable funnel. The Mughal forces reached the riverbed before the Marathas could launch their boats. Commander Loloji Ghorpade realized the royal entourage needed a physical diversion to absorb the Mughal charge and buy time for the escape. Ghorpade stood his ground on the riverbank. He mounted a legendary sacrificial defense to buy the king a few desperate minutes. His actions on that riverbank mirrored the iconic stand of Baji Prabhu Deshpande, putting personal sacrifice ahead of survival. In that moment, the survival of the Maratha leadership relied entirely on a single commander's willingness to hold the line. Despite Ghorpade's delay, the numerical advantage of the Mughal forces was too great. On the banks of Navadi Bandar, the net finally closed. Sambhaji Maharaj and Kavi Kailash were surrounded and taken prisoner. This capture marked the start of their 40 days of torture under Aurangzeb, a grim period that would test the resolve of the Maratha spirit. Following the capture, Mughal forces moved to dismantle the region's cultural identity, smashing local temples and shivlings as a display of dominance. The fall of Sambhaji Maharaj traces back to internal political betrayal. Navadi Bandar remains the physical site where a fractured inner circle, motivated by land disputes, allowed the empire to be decapitated